Hello, thanks for joining me on Reddit Stories. Today, I'd like to share my relationship story and how I got rid of my cheating wife. I'm a 36-year-old male. And my wife Belina is a 37-year-old female. We got married 5 years ago and have a son together. Belina was an outspoken woman and a party animal. She liked to spend most of her time in clubs and bars, yet she never neglected me or our son during our marriage. Belina had this extra energy that allowed her to manage everything so efficiently. She would spend time with family and friends and also manage her business with ease. Everyone was impressed with her energy. Belina's digital marketing business was thriving. When she received extra money from one of her clients, she decided to renovate our house. We were living in a modern, large house with glass windows and a minimalist design in California. I come from wealth and inherited family money, so I bought that big house for us. I met Belina during my house search because, at that time, she was working as a real estate agent and helped me find the house. I fell for her because she always had something informative to say. I was impressed with her knowledge and confidence. Which is how we started dating. So, I was shocked when she said she wanted to renovate the house because it was already in fine condition. However, she insisted that we needed a new kitchen and more rooms for our son. She had a whole plan and design ideas in her mind. I was comfortable with our current house design. But Belina convinced me to go ahead with the renovation, saying she would spend her own money on it. I agreed, and she started the project. One day, I came back home, and my wife Belina was sitting with a very handsome guy in our living room. She introduced him as Jackson, the architect for our house renovation. Jackson seemed like a very friendly guy. He hugged me when I entered the room and involved me in the house design discussions. While Belina was ignoring my opinions about the design style, Jackson kept asking me for my opinion. And I started liking him because I didn't like the way Belina was dismissing my input. Belina mentioned that it was her project and she wanted to do it her way, so taking my opinion was pointless. But it was my house too. I preferred a minimalist style with light colors, but Belina insisted on adding bright colors throughout the house. She proposed yellow, orange, and red walls in every room, which was too much for me. She also suggested a purple kitchen. We had a huge argument in front of Jackson. I understood that Belina had a playful and outgoing personality, but turning our house into a circus wasn't something I wanted to do. Jackson acted as a mediator during our argument, trying to reason with Belina. He said that pastel colors could create an illusion of spaciousness and brightness in a home, making it appear larger and more open than it actually is. I found him really professional and mature. From that day, Jackson started coming to our house more frequently. He would spend day and night there because he had become a good friend to both me and Belina. The renovation had begun, so he needed to be there often. One day, Jackson, Belina, and I were sitting in our living room watching a football match when Belina's friend Emily came over. I was used to Belina's friends visiting frequently, as she had many friends who were all very attached to her. Emily had a habit of coming over whenever she wanted. One day, she entered our living room and hugged Jackson. I was shocked to see this, but Emily said Jackson was a high school friend of Belina and her. I was surprised because neither Belina nor Jackson had mentioned this to me. It felt as though they were hiding this from me, and they looked embarrassed when Emily brought it up. I didn't question them at that moment, but when Belina and I were alone having dinner that night, I brought up the fact that she hadn't told me she knew Jackson. Belina tried to cover it up by saying she didn't want me to think that she had hired her friend instead of a professional. I told her that her friend could still be a professional, but she insisted that she didn't think it was a big deal. She told me to chill, saying it wasn't a big deal, and I dropped the topic. Belina had this habit of saying, "Take a chill pill," and "it's not a big deal," whenever I tried to communicate my concerns, since I tend to stress about every little thing. Sometimes her chill attitude helped me not to make a big deal out of everything, so I always took her "take a chill pill" phrase in a positive way, still, for my own satisfaction. I tried searching for Jackson online. He was a small architect but had good reviews about him on social media. he didn't have many clients, though. So I thought maybe that's why Belina gave him a project to renovate our house. During the renovation process, Belina kept taking money from me. Even though she initially said she would spend her own money, later, she declared that she never thought it would cost so much, so now I had to spend my money as well. Money was never an issue for me, so I gladly participated financially in the renovation because the work Jackson was doing was incredible. He had become our friend, too. He would play with our son. And by this point, he had become part of our family. One day, when I was at work, Belina messaged me and asked me to come home early because she had to go to a party. And she wanted me to look after our son. When I came home, I noticed that Jackson was not there. Even though he usually came daily, I asked Belina about him. And she said Jackson was not feeling well, so he didn't come that day. Belina was getting ready for the party. She was putting extra effort into her makeup and wore a dark green dress with heavy jewelry and dark lipstick. I complimented her and asked what the occasion was. She said she was just feeling good that day. Belina had a habit of dressing according to her mood, dark makeup if she was in a good mood, black colors if she was not feeling well. So I didn't press for more details, I just complimented her on how gorgeous she looked. Belina hugged me and said she would be back late. I said okay, and she went out. I started watching TV and ordered pizza. I usually enjoyed my time with my son whenever Belina went out. We would watch TV, play games, or dance to cartoon music, and eat junk food. So I was having a great time with my son, but when he went to sleep, I felt bored and started scrolling on social media. I'm not much of a social media person, but I decided to check Jackson's page. I wasn't following him, but I wanted to see his designs. When I opened his Instagram, there were lots of stories. I decided to check them out because I was bored. To my shock, I saw Belina and Jackson together at a party. It turned out it was Jackson's birthday party, and Belina had attended. I didn't understand why she had lied and why Jackson hadn't invited me. Even though we had become good friends, there was one video where Belina was dancing with Jackson and hugging him. All of this made me angry. I thought about tracking Belina's location and going to the party, but then I decided against it because causing a scene was not in my nature. I kept waiting for Belina to come home. But even at midnight, she hadn't returned. I tried calling her, but her phone was off. I was worried and angry, so I called Jackson's number and asked where he was. He didn't mention the party and instead said he was in the hospital and not feeling well. I was furious at his lies. He didn't know that I had seen his social media posts, so he blatantly lied. Around 3 a.m., Belina came home drunk. I was so angry that I couldn't wait for the next day to ask her where she had been. I started interrogating her as soon as she arrived. She lied, saying she had been with Emily and that it was Emily's birthday. I had had enough of her lies. I lost my temper and threw cold water on Belina's face. I shouted and demanded the truth. Belina, who was drunk and didn't expect my reaction, suggested that we open our marriage. She said we needed to spice things up and have other people in our lives. She was suggesting an open relationship while she was not even in her senses. She said she would choose Jackson if we opened our marriage. I let her talk, hoping she would reveal more while she was drunk. She mentioned various details about how Jackson was her first love and how our marriage needed something fun. She told me I could date her friend Emily. I said, yeah, okay, and kept asking different questions about Jackson. Belina said Jackson was that gorgeous man, the father of my child. I froze when she said that. It felt like the earth was spinning. I felt like I was going to die, but I kept listening to her. She said she would have married Jackson instead of me if he had had enough money, but since I was more settled than Jackson, she chose me for my money. I was shocked and heartbroken. I left Belina on the sofa and went to sleep because my mind had stopped working. I didn't know how much of what Belina had said was true because she wasn't fully awake. The next day, when I woke up, my head was still heavy. Belina was making breakfast and asked me to sit at the dining table. I sat there, not speaking to her. She brought breakfast and asked me what she had said last night. Of course, she didn't remember her full confession. I told her she had said she wanted to open our marriage. She tried to gauge my reaction, but I kept my emotions hidden and acted normal. When she saw I was normal, she said we should open our marriage to bring fun into our lives. I said maybe and tried to agree with her. I didn't mention Jackson or how she had said he was the father of our child. Belina didn't remember, so I took our son for a DNA test to confirm the truth. I hoped that Belina had been speaking nonsense and that my son was indeed mine, but 2 days later, when I received the report, I was heartbroken to see that my son was not mine. Belina had been deceiving me for years, and she was only after my money. I was shattered and disturbed, but I gathered myself and called my lawyers to file for divorce. I acted completely normal around Belina, and she had no idea that I knew what she had done to me. When Jackson arrived, we were having tea together. And Belina mentioned that Jackson needed money for the kitchen and pool installments. I told Belina that my app wasn't working and suggested that she pay Jackson directly, promising to transfer the money to her as soon as my bank issues were resolved. It was a substantial payment, and Belina had to cover it. Her bank account was drained after making that payment because house renovations are expensive, especially when you're living in a mansion funded by your wealthy husband. She made the payment to Jackson, and he began working on our renovation. Meanwhile, I stayed calm while my lawyers worked on the divorce papers. Belina had given the payment to Jackson, and Jackson had started working on our house renovation. Now, Belina was out of money, and Jackson was also broke because he had invested all the money into the work on our house, including labor, flooring, and paint. Belina began demanding money from me, but I kept making excuses about my ongoing bank issue. During this time, my lawyer called to say the divorce papers were ready. I felt relieved and decided to surprise Belina. I placed the divorce papers and the DNA test results on a table where she would see them and set up cameras in our room to capture her reaction. The cameras recorded everything. When Jackson and Belina were alone, they kissed each other and then sat down to have coffee at our dining table. Belina noticed the papers on the table and, upon opening them, dropped her coffee mug in shock. She was not expecting the documents to be divorce papers and DNA test results. Her plan to defraud me had come to an end. Jackson and Belina were taken aback by the turn of events. Now they were broke, and I asked them to leave my house. Belina was accustomed to living in our luxurious home and was now facing a financial crisis. She had spent all her savings on renovating the house and couldn't recover the money because she had been defrauding me all along. I told them to take their children with them and threatened Jackson with lawsuits. Although I had no intention of wasting more time on them, I was pleased to have uncovered the truth. Belina wasn't worth my time, and her living a poor lifestyle was the biggest punishment for someone driven by greed. I instructed Jackson to complete the renovation process and warned him that if he didn't, I would file a lawsuit that would result in the cancellation of his license. He had no choice but to comply. This was the least I could do to punish him, given that he had invested his money into my house, and the DNA reports would ensure he could not win any legal battle. Belina continues to ask for my forgiveness, hoping that I might relent and be deceived by her repeated claims of taking a chill pill. Now, she has neither peace nor financial stability, and she has to manage her child on her own since Jackson refuses to take responsibility. On the other hand, I am thoroughly enjoying my single life, a luxury I never had the chance to experience before. Life is much more enjoyable without the responsibilities of a child or a spouse. I'm taking some time for myself before considering marriage again. Thanks for tuning into my wild ride. I'd love to hear what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed the drama, hit that like button and subscribe for more juicy stories.